You are listening now to the Spirituality Now podcast, the show that is solely focused on practical spirituality, leadership, and mindset skills with the aim and purpose of supporting you master your life. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. I am your host, Yvonne de la Flor. Welcome for those of you who are watching us on YouTube, for those of you who are listening on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Amazon Podcast, Alexa, your robot, and all of those. We are everywhere where podcasts are. Remember, this is a philanthropic podcast, so if you can share, give us your comments, your feedback. We will appreciate that. We are self-sponsored in a way. One of our company sponsors and is produced by Brilliant Futures Productions. So you can get the resources of our incredible guests just pure, no commercials, no sale in between, etc. And we plan to keep it like this, at least for a while, right? So anyways, I'm excited today because I feel like the Great Spirit and really very high attuned biofield frequencies, that's what I'm going to say, sent us today this our beautiful guest. And her name is Holly Copeland. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, she's gorgeous. And Holly's passion lies in helping people discover what it means to step into the flow with life. Notice my words, and living unshakable joy and well-being while healing their mental, emotional, and physical bodies. A holistic approach with a deep connection to nature from her 20-plus year career as a conservation scientist. I mean, I feel very smart just by the guests that I bring here. I mean, she's a scientist. She founded HeartMind Alchemy to unite ancient wisdom and modern science and empower clients on their path to human flourishing and upgrading from ordinary mind to awake awareness. But I love this. Her background with certified training in the healing modalities of breath of love, Biofield, tuning with human potential coaching, Reiki and Subtle Energy meditation, and so much more. I was looking at her website, and there's so much more, right? But I'm going to let her share with you a little bit more about HeartMind Alchemy and about who Holly is. Welcome, Holly.
Thank you so much for that gorgeous introduction. I'm just really humbled to be here, and so feel so honored to be in your presence and on this podcast. Thank you so much for having me.
I love this, because I have an experience now through the podcast. We've been like 4 years, something, it used to be, we rebranded. We used to be a bilingual podcast. It used to be called Sovereign Futures. And we're polishing. We have a core value in our company, all of our team, that is called the bamboo effect. I don't know if you have heard it, which is grow first, 4 years strong underground, and then flourish, right? We could do it a little faster. But what we have experienced now is that because we've been very steady and consistent in how we want to contribute, is that we get to meet incredible people like you. It's like we are getting more subtle, like your beautiful wordings, right, are, and we get to, I think, attract, magnetize, or just meet people like you who are in such a subtle vibrational frequencies, serving the planet in such beautiful ways. So thank you so much for being with us, Holly. So I was reading your website and I was reading about your story. And I'm interested in the dark side of things. I have a mentor, his name is Tim Grover. He speaks about the dark side. And most of my Buddhist teachers, everyone, there is an aspect where the darkness, even the Tao Te Ching speaks about how everything comes from darkness. And I love that you were very honest and open, sharing that, I think it was 5 years ago, maybe a little bit more ago, your life was falling apart. And from there, this all began to brew. Could you share with us a little bit of your story?
Sure, I would love to. And I just want to speak to what you said about the darkness, because I think it's so important, because when things feel like they're falling apart, we can get so much into like, why is this happening to me? And it feels like we've done something wrong. And actually in the teachings, really, it's like, actually that's the opportunity for our, greatest awakening, our greatest opening into freedom. So, if we can see it that way and hold that, the promise of that, it's so powerful. So just really want to emphasize that, because it's, it's happening all over the world. People are, or a lot of people are really struggling. And, I just want to, extend my compassionate heart to people who are in that space, and, to hold, I feel like, like those of us who, have moved through darkness, and we're always on our path, there's no there to get to, but I feel like we hold candles of flame of promise for those who, we're in the dark. You need the people who can hold the flame for you to say, yes, you will get through this. Yes, there is light beyond the darkness.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And I love, the image of like a candle loses nothing by lighting other candles. They're in the same level. It's unbelievable. But beautiful. Yeah. I can feel your energy. I'm already getting like, I don't know, has people tell you that when you begin to speak, people begin to relax?
Thank you. Yeah.
Like I beginning to relax. I'm like, okay, when you have a podcast to interview, like to breathe. But and the story, because I love this, that we do have a responsibility, those of us who go through dark times, to, if we go through it, right? Because some people, the dark side or the darkness that, not all of us make it through. And some of us that make it, we are responsible to bring people to the other shore, like the Heart Sutra says. But tell us about your story. So your life was falling apart.
Yeah. Well, so I was in a space where I had what had always been, up until it started to fall apart, what I thought was a dream job. I worked for the Nature Conservancy. I was doing my life's work, which is, environmental work to quote unquote save the planet. I was working really hard every day with amazing people. But I came to a point where, really, I think it was a place of burnout, where it felt like every single day I couldn't do enough, and I just kept reading all the things that were happening to the planet, and it's just going kind of downhill, what felt like downhill. And it felt like a losing battle. And like, no matter what I would do, I couldn't get out of it. And I started to have this realization, like, I need to, this is crazy. I've got what should be the perfect job. I'm living in a beautiful place with 2 children who are thriving and successful in a good marriage. Like, by all rights, I've done all the things society said I should do to be happy. And yet I wasn't happy. And I was really coming into a place of sadness and despair over what humanity was doing to the planet, like, real environmental grief. And I needed to find a way out of that, because it felt like, if I've checked all these boxes and done all these things and I'm still not happy, something's wrong. I'm really missing something. And I'd been on the spiritual path, I would say, since a kid. I had always been drawn to spiritual teachings and read lots of books, but I realized that I hadn't yet come to that place where I knew how to be with and work with the shadows and the dark to get out of it, And I had this, speaking of light, I had this sense, like, I want to be a lighthouse for others and for the world, but I can't be a lighthouse if I'm in the dark. So I need to work my way out of the dark, And I made a number of other things. A couple other things happened that are notable. One was that I got mold poisoning. So I was physically ill at the same time. So like, the universe was like, actually going to make my body ill in order for me to work with that. I now see it that way. And I just had also this sense of, like, I'd never meditated, but I knew that, never meditated seriously. I'd kind of tried it on and off, but I'd never been able to make it stick. Had a real deep inner practice that really felt like I connected with who I really was. I didn't know what that was, but I sensed it was there, but I didn't know how to connect to it. And I had a sense that meditation was a path. And so I ended up meeting up with a number of different teachers, but one who's still one of my primary teachers in a course that I took called Raising Our Vibration. And these 2 teachers, Kevin Shaninger and Stephen Altair, took a group of us through a 10-week, deep meditation course. And through that really started me kind of down the rabbit hole of a deep, deep inner journey to into that ground of unshakable joy, to know what I call the ground of being, our essential presence, our essential self, who we really are. Because what I discovered is that the mind is not who you really are. But we don't, know that necessarily. It feels like, how can we get out of our minds and into our essential being? And through the practices that I was taught with them, I studied, and I'm still studying Dzogchen and Mahamudra practices from Tibet, the direct teachings from there, which are totally incredible, because the Tibetans have made a science of the mind, of thousands of years of study of how do we work with this crazy, voice in our heads, and how do we get out of our minds and land into our essential being. And they have some very beautiful, very quick practices to help shift. And I was introduced to those. And I also started to work with plant medicine, and I started to work with ayahuasca. And yeah. And
how was that for you?
Yeah, that was quite.
I asked because I cannot get it, because what I had a near-death experience when I was 17. I was in dead, etc., etc. But I was in a hospital for a month, and they gave me in Mexico morphine. It's like, what do we give them for the pain? Let's give them morphine. I was high as for a month, so my brain developed so much DMT. I survived the month. I think I survived more the morphine than the almost fatal car accident. So, but my brain is like. So people tell me I came from a journey of ayahuasca. I saw the great jaguar, and I'm like, I'm seeing jaguars every day, holy. It's like. But so how was it for you? How was that introduction for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, the shaman that I worked with, she was brilliant, and it was difficult. I'm not going to lie. It was very difficult. And there was a lot of working with shadows. There was a lot of, tears and some vomiting and some different things. But to start to develop that relationship with her, the grandmother ayahuasca vine, and which is now like that relationship for me is deepening. But, the intelligence and the wisdom of plants, it felt like she was remaking me from the inside. It really did. It felt like something was going into me and like, click, 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 like, get rid of that, like moving parts around, and it wasn't easy, but it was, I have such great respect for those medicines and the indigenous tribes, God bless them, that have held those traditions and are now sharing them with Westerners, and, with people all over the world. I think this is our time for really honoring and appreciating the wisdom of these indigenous tribes, so much in your own country, Mexico too. I mean, such beautiful wisdom. I've done some work with psilocybin as well. I mean, it's just incredible medicine when used respectfully in a ceremonial way with people who know how to work with that, and that's,
I love that. I love that you're saying that. And, and I have a couple of questions here already for you, but I love your approach, your frequency and how you are coming through. You said the words extending compassion, and I can feel it in your body. I can even feel the reverence, for the practices of not only the indigenous people, but the Tibetan tools, which I'm going to agree with you about the Tibetan meditations or skills that you are learning, that you are passing on to others. What people don't understand is that they are practical and functional. We are all about functional spirituality here. Not only like, let's get, here, let's do things. People don't understand that a mudra is not only for you to achieve enlightenment. Enlightenment is the beginning. It's actually rewiring your brain, right? Rewiring your nervous system. It's unbelievable. And you did that for yourself. I read correctly, and I have my notes here. When you were in your challenge, right? When your life was falling apart, and mold, oh my gosh, God bless your soul, because mold is such a, this is, wow, it's brutal. It's actually brutal. We've been through that. The detoxification aspect of that is unbelievably hard. but it brought you to this dark side, this womb, right? It's a womb. The darkness is womb is one of the darkest places in creation. It brought you to rebirth. But I love that one day in your inquiry, you were writing, I believe it was in your journal or in notes, and you received the words, "My Rewire My Brain Project." Please tell me about that, because I think this is brilliant.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Well, I mean, it was literally, I was in that place where, the mold, I was in the detoxification path, and I had attended actually one meditation retreat for the weekend, and it had left such an impression on me, this meditation retreat I did, that I knew there was something important there. And it was like January of 2019. And I'm like sitting on my couch, with all of that information, and like, and feeling like there's this voice in my head I can't shut off. And I just have this sense that it's not about dieting. It's not about exercise. It's not about, I don't know, any of the other things I've tried. I need to like work on rewiring my brain itself. And so I sat there and I said, this is 2019. This is the year of rewiring my brain. And I'm going to document all the things I'm going to do, starting with meditation, and then plant medicine. Yeah.
That's amazing. And you're a scientist, yes?
Yeah. And so I was taking that scientific approach. because
it's like, I will keep notes of everything. I'm like, if you ask me, Yvonne, how's your spiritual journey of 20 years? Do you have notes on everything? No. I have experiences, but I love this. I love that you are tracking. I love that there is a scientific bridge with the spiritual, because people, again, they don't know how this Tibetan practice, Buddhist teachings they are practical, functional. Did you know, Holly? I just learned this because I'm just beginning to learn Zen from, I believe, one of the best teachers of Zen in the world. His name is Mado Moore. And I'm just watching his videos. I'm about to meet him for the first time, but I'm just a pre-beginner. I have not even started. But he was giving a class where he explained that even, like the karate belt that they wear around their because he does a kid or something, that the belt is not for decoration or rank. It's actually to touch your hara point and to focus the energy there and come from that center. I mean, that blows my mind. Also, bowing, how the Tibetans do, they do 108 prostrations or 1,000 and something, etc. And there is not only the reverence or the deities, there is an aspect, a neurobiological aspect in the body when you do it right and you bend from the hara point, your waist. Unbelievable. So you probably, I'm excited because you're a scientist and I'm like, I am going to talk to Holly about this. Okay. So you started the Rewire Your Brain project, and as a great scientist that you are, you began to track it. But I love something that you said that happened before. And I think that's the intentional aspect. I think that's the knocking at the door of heaven, that you were determined to never let yourself be so unhappy again. Can you tell me about that moment of decision?
Yeah. I mean, I was just in, I was in tears. I remember I was running. I did a lot of my processing while I was running on a trail behind my house. And I just recognized kind of the way that things had been and where, I was, and that I'd come through it. And it was just like, again, I saw this lighthouse and this beacon of light. And I knew that that was what I wanted, it was like that was my mission and goal, was to be that and become that for other people, because I was like, the Tibetans talk about how the gift of the body and the gift of this life is so precious, and that we should recognize the preciousness of our life. And I felt like I was living a life of such privilege. Like, it is such a, privilege to live and be able to work at a, organization like the Conservancy, and to have a nice home with children who are well, and, nobody's got a terrible illness, and so many people in the world have such less, so much less than I did. And I just felt like, like it was my responsibility to get myself well so that I could kind of be that lighthouse for the world, because I recognize that that's, the greatest gift that we can give the world, that we care so much about, is actually to get ourselves well and become a beacon of light for others. I honestly believe that. And, that, and it flipped on its head my view of conservation and environmental, because I'd always felt like the reason that I was so unhappy, I see now, is I was chasing this problem. Life was always a problem that I felt like I had to solve. And I think the inner path flips that on its head and says, look at, start to do the work within and notice when, whatever comes your way, whatever grief, whether it's, I don't know, an elephant, genocide, or other, forests in the Amazon, or whatever our pain is, whatever that's bringing up in you, that's actually a moment to work on the pain that we feel inside, so that we feel, because what I discovered was that when I felt whole and well, then it was like my cup was full and I had plenty of energy now to give back out to the world that needs my help. It flips the whole thing.
Well, I love that, the flipping the whole thing. But I love your compassion, Holly. I don't know if people know this, but once you are one-on-one in touch with compassion, I don't know for you, but it's really brutal. For me, the compassion that you feel for the world, there's no way that you cannot show up fully for it. There is no way that you are not going to be of service to humanity, right? Once you really touch base with genuine compassion, which I really feel it that you did, right? A lot of people talk about compassion, but you experienced it. And that was part of your awakening, taking care of yourself, being well for yourself. It was not a selfish act. It was actually an act for service to the world.
Thank you for saying that.
You know the term bodhisattva?
Yeah.
The bodhisattvas, that no matter if they have achieved enlightenment and they can transcend this life and they don't need to reincarnate and all of that. It's a beautiful, I love the metaphor of what we're capable as human beings. But I feel you are my first welcome, Bodhisattva Holly, because it's when you have your heart and your service you genuinely care for humanity, then this is a must. So when you were doing the rewiring your brain project and getting your brain waves ready and you're tracking your health back and really connected to humanity, what was the primary impulse for you to create your new, the HeartMind Alchemy? And what is it? How did you create it, and what is it?
Yeah, thank you. So the impulse to create it was as all the realizations we've talked about started to come into my, understanding, to really settle in, I knew I had an intuitive knowing that I was unlikely to continue as a scientist. I had this growing recognition of I just want to help others, get well, rewire their brains too, literally. I just want to help humanity. And I felt like that was a greater service than actually, it's people that are harming the planet, right? Of course. And so the people are actually what need the support. And so I felt like actually the most effective thing I could do for the environment was to help the people. And so as that recognition settled in to me, then it was okay, well, what am I going to do? And I did a lot of praying, and I actually kind of just opened it up to spirit. It was you show me what to do. And a couple months went by of not really certain what exactly that would look like. And one day I was listening to a podcast about a meditation teacher and a coach who talked about how he left being a Hollywood designer to do this work. And as he told his story, it was this voice, very strong voice, came into my head that just said, do that. That's what you're supposed to do. And then by the time I came back from my run, I was I told my husband at the time, I think I know what I'm going to do now.
I went for a run as a scientist. I come back as someone that bridges spirit with science, right? You call
Yeah.
uniting ancient wisdom with modern science. I love that. But I love that what can happen in a run or in a moment alone, right? My alone moments are in the car. I love the car. It's all dark, and that's where I get all my ideas, or at the gym, or in
Yeah.
But
right.
So,
yeah, it doesn't happen when we sit down at the computer to do something, right? It happens when our minds are sort of out and able to be run free, in the world.
So, Holly, so you came back from the run. You announced this to your family. How did your family take it? That you were, that because usually that's a clash, not for everybody, but for some people. How did your family adapt it to your new adaptation or your own evolution?
Yeah, largely, was very supportive. And, ultimately it, and I'm going to say this just for the people who need to make this change and maybe they don't have their family support. And I don't want you to think it was all roses and teacups. So, and unicorns and rainbows. So there was some initial support. And that was amazing. And then when I was like, no, and that was me working part-time for the Conservancy. So I had a part-time salary, plus I was doing this coaching. And that went on for about 2 years. And then I was like, I've got to go all in on this coaching thing, or I can't do both at the same time. And then the conversation was a little more challenging because it was like having real faith and trust in myself to do this thing. This coaching business and what HeartMind Alchemy, which I'll talk about in a minute. And that was a more difficult conversation. And, ultimately I ended up, and it's not just that, it's a lot of different things. Ultimately, I ended up going off on my own. I got divorced. And I think that that's a function of, I share that because sometimes when we go on this path and make a lot of changes, our marriage doesn't survive. And, we see, and I got married when I was 19 years old and I'd been with this person for 30 years, so I feel deeply honoring of that path, of the marriage, of the children that we had. And I share this because I really believe that when society creates a image in our heads that in order to be successful, we have to have a marriage that lasts our whole life, I think it's wrong. And I think we're setting ourselves up for believing we've failed. And I think it's right. It's so important to know, like, the marriage didn't fail. We respectfully decided to part ways and go in different directions. And, and now we're having, the second part of our lives with new relationships. And that's not a failure. That's consciousness, doing its thing, and things are going to morph and change. And I just think it's so important. It's such an opportunity to reframe the rules that society's told us about what a successful marriage looks like.
100%, especially for women. I mean, I'm not trying to be dismissive of men, but I've been divorced too. And one of the reasons of the divorce has been the spiritual path that I chose, right? So just for you to know, when I married first, I became a Swami and I became celibate. So that didn't match, like that was not a match of staying in a marriage with someone so young and so vibrant. When for me, I was in the path of I wanted celibacy. I didn't want to have intimate relationships. And, that has changed in the future and all of that. But it is true, in the path of you deciding who you want to be and in the path that life calls you to serve others, there's going to be people that you got to not only let go of, but the completion cycles are going to be there. It's nature. Exactly. Right? It's a cycle of nature. So, I could talk to you. You have this conversational ease and peace that it's easy to talk about things. So I feel like you're my therapist suddenly.
Thank you.
Tell me about your stories. There she goes again. All right, so let's talk about HeartMind Alchemy. So you go through this process of transformation, so people know you go all in. you give all of yourself to it, and you create HeartMind Alchemy. And you have a couple of services there, like the community, the HeartMind Circle, the Biofield tuning. I want to talk about all of them. The becoming unshakable aspect, the neuro meditation, which, oh my gosh. So tell me about it. Tell me a little bit overall.
Yeah, thank you. So, HeartMind Alchemy grew out of what was becoming. I was training as a human potential coach. And so I was, in this program, I went into it kind of a biohacker, kind of a nerdy, doing a lot of work with headsets and vibrational tools and different things to help people, and neuromeditation. So neuromeditation is Dr. Jeff Tarrant's program, where he looks at the brain and looks at different styles of meditation and how they affect the brain, and then helping people choose different styles of meditation based on where they are and what might help them the most, what they need. So that was all coming together. And then I discovered Biofield tuning with Eileen McCusick, which is a method of sound healing with tuning forks. And so I started studying with her, and I ultimately certified as a Biofield tuning practitioner with her, because I really was like, I think the message I'm trying to share here is, yes, I went on a deep kind of inner path with getting out of the mind, as it were, in the awakening, what I would, people can call the awakening path. But also there is a waking down path that is waking into the vibrational, or allowing the pranic, the vibrational body to help free us, right? Because ultimately, all emotions, all thoughts are actually waveforms or energy forms in our field. And in order to really, to me, a central part of this, what we call the awakening path, is also to bring those waveforms into coherence. It's like, each of us is a symphony singing our song out into the world. And these places in us that, where we've had trauma, where we've had difficulty, are like out of tune strings in the symphony of our being. And the tools to tune those strings, like what I discovered, the power of tuning forks or sound healing. I work with sound alchemy bowls. Of course, mantra and chanting can do this as well. Essential oils can do that. There's lots of, Reiki, right? All of it, though, is about finding those places of dissonance in our field and helping them to open and release. Because they are like noise in the system of our being, and they create the dissonant thoughts, the unwelcome, the things that feel unwelcome to us come from all these different dissonances in our field. And so it's a process of going in and clearing those out.
I love that. I like, because I checked your website, right? And I have it here in front of me, because I'm fascinated how well you have merged science and spirituality. And, in the hacking community, right, of the cold plunges, of the fast breath work, of the muse, the neurofeedback, all of the technologies, it's like either you go very extreme or you go, on the opposite path. But I find in you a very melodic, I'm just going to say it like that, that you have it's called biosonics, right? The turning forks. I also see that you have a lot of technology. You have greens, you recommend the infrared sauna, which I love. I consistently practice, do that, training in there. All of I love that in your website, you promote all of those tools that can help people, because we are not in the same with the same environment as we were when we were in the 1920s. So we have to optimize, right? You have the biomat, you have all of these technologies that can help us not only inhabit our body in a more holistic way, but also keep our mind, as you say it, in a cohesive, congruent, coherent way. Cohesive, congruent, and coherent, right? And I experienced that from you. And so you have these, so you do the all the good technologies, but you do it in a very harmonic way. I don't know how to put it. So and then you have this, I think, I don't know if it's a program. Tell us about that, becoming unshakable. What is that?
Yeah. So when I unified all these different things that you've talked about, the different tools, some of the biotech and the technology, because I'm like, gosh, if there's a tool out there that can help us heal quicker, can help bring us into resonance quicker, then I want to share those. So I share on my website various tools that I've used that I've found really effective at helping, bring the body into harmony and clear dissonance. And what I created was a program that shares and works with people both one-on-one, and then I have group sessions as well, these different modalities with a one-on-one program and support. So Awaken, Heal, Breathe, which is this program, is like the core of it is one-on-one work with people to do awakening meditations and guidance, so there's a lot of somatic therapy and work. We go in together into the body, and I guide them into practices that clear these old stuck patterns. We work with Biofield tuning. So we do individual tuning fork sessions, and I do them at a distance. So I work with people anywhere in the world. And then breath work. And I saw that you do I think you do some breath work as well, the rebirthing.
Yeah, I trained many years ago as a breathwork therapist too, and I trained first with Leonard Orr and then with Dan Brule, and
yeah. So the breath of love with Julia Mick, which is now called Selena.
She used to come when she started. She used to do private sessions to me in my house in Montecito.
Oh, okay, fabulous. Okay, yeah. So I studied with Julia. So she's so wonderful. So I studied with her, and that breath work that she taught me is just so powerful. And so I'm just continually blown away by the power of that work. So I weave those into private and group sessions. And, it's amazing to me how effective they are, even, online at a distance.
Because the breath, I don't need to be in person with you for me to breathe or to listen to the sounds of the tuning forks, right?
Yeah, that's right. And because of the quantum field.
I love that you're a scientist. But because you know what, there is a sense of ease and safety that you have this scientific mind background and also an open, awakened heart and mind. So it makes sense to me that you have the HeartMind Alchemy.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely sense to me. So you told us you can work with people one-on-one, online, in private. Anything else that you would like us to share with our community for them to? We're going to make sure to give them, put the copy, your website, your Instagram, but anything else? What's in the future? What the future looks like for HeartMind Alchemy?
Yeah, thank you. Well, the what I'm working on now is to do more traveling and retreats and holding, doing like short, week-long or 10-day group sessions. I don't have anything quite planned yet, but if you subscribe to my website, you'll get my newsletter. So when those offerings come out, then I'll let you know.
Okay, perfect. And you have some classes, right, that they can online? That is,
you can download. So I have a 4-week masterclass that is online, a recorded session. So if you want to join that masterclass, it's pre-recorded, but it was a wonderful class, and that's an offering there on my website. And then you can also join my live HeartMind circles. It's an hour and a half twice a month with me, doing this guided work together. And I'm working on a book, and that will be coming as well.
I ask you, but I wanted to. So what? Don't tell me everything, but tell me a little bit. I'll invite you back when you have your book. You're working on the book. I can't wait to read it.
Thank you.
I have a lot of scientific backup.
Yeah. So it's called Inner Rewilding, and because I'm really seeing it now. This just came to me in the last few weeks. The title actually changed because it's that outer wilderness that I was always trying to save to what I really see is now a process of inner rewilding, the working with plants, the undomesticating ourselves, and all of the preconceived notions like we were talking about with, what a successful marriage looks like. And I feel like we've all been so domesticated into it's like, living in boxes in a very narrow way. And I just think that there's so much richer, experiences that we can have when we kind of go into a rewilding process of ourselves and what that looks like. And, that looks different for everyone. But for me, it is like, it's being in nature, it's developing relationships with plants and with, with sound and all these different tools that are here on earth to help us.
Yes. Yes. And I love that you approach them with the reverence, with the tools, and with the knowledge on how to use them. So, beloved Holly, so for closing, we have like a little ritual in the show. Is there any blessing that you could send? Because our podcast, a lot of people of Latin America listen to this and they love the blessing part. Any blessing for helping them bridge that heart mind alchemy and becoming really unshakable?
Yeah. Can I use a tuning fork?
Oh, please let me get ready. I meant to ask, but I didn't meant to ask. Okay, yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. I would love that. Okay, so
no, our team is in the back of this, so enjoy.
Yeah. So I'm gonna strike a fork here and just invite all of us to close our eyes together. And I've got this fork over our hearts. And I just want you to bring your awareness down into your heart. And let's just breathe several collective breaths together. Breathing in fresh, clean, beautiful, vibrant energy from the earth. And then breathing out, blessings of gratitude and love for everybody here, for all of the families, friends, and loved ones, and that we all connect with and support. And one of my teachers, Jonathan Goldman, says that there is an altar of faith and trust that exists in front of our hearts, about 10 to 12 inches. So I want you to place your awareness on that area, 10 to 12 inches in front of your heart. And think of that like he calls it the altar of faith. So let's together just place our awareness there. If you want, you can even cup your hands out in front of you, in front of this, in this space, this altar of faith. And then place any prayer that you have, any wish that you have for yourself, for your loved ones, for the planet. Let's together just place it on this altar of faith, that it is being tended to and cared for. You set the intention, and then we are collectively asking Spirit to hold our collective prayers for us. So we don't have to hold them. Know that they are being taken care of simply by our act here of placing them in front of us. And then feel from behind your heart the support of all of your guides, angels, spirits, ascended masters, ancestors, elders, all of these beautiful beings that support every one of us that's walking the path of having a human body. Feel their support behind you. Feel them taking in and acknowledging and supporting your prayer. And then know that it is done. Know that it is being taken care of and tended to. And lastly, I want to place a collective, because we spoke about the planet so much today, I want to place a collective prayer for Mother Earth, for all of the beautiful plants, animals, trees that she graces us with, and place a collective prayer of healing and support for the earth. very much on my mind today. I saw an article about there's an elephant orphanage in Africa that I have supported and been to, and they told a story of a beautiful elephant that was rescued and taken care of by people and then returned into the wild. And I just want to, there's so many people that care so deeply about the earth and are doing so much to help her and these beautiful animals. And so I feel in tears just knowing this collective caring for the planet, and that fundamentally knowing that as each of us comes back to our own wholeness and well-being, that's what will help support the planet the most. And then, of course, we take aligned action to whatever that looks like for us to actually walk in the world. So that's my blessing and my prayer. And I feel it being magnified by the fork, which is now very vibrant and glowing. And yes, every single person listening, deep love, blessings, and well wishes to each of you wherever you are. Then thank you. Thank you for asking me to be here and to share this with you.
Wow, what a blessing. Oh, what a blessing, Holly. You are true to your name, Holly. And thank you. So I still can feel the reverberation of the tuning fork in my whole body, head to toes. So it's going to my legs. So thank you so much, love. This was very special for us, for our team. And I'm envisioning, and I know it's going to be very special for those who listen. And we hope, the podcast is open for you whenever you want to come in. We'll just welcome you when you have your book. We'd love to host you. And wow, we are going to share a lot about you, Holly. So thank you so much, Angel. And thank you, everyone, for receiving this blessing. This was very special. You call it the gate of faith?
Yeah, the altar of faith.
The altar of faith. That was like, I went Buddhist. That was like the gateless gate. And so I really went very deep. So the altar of faith. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much. Please follow Holly. We are going to post her Instagram, her website. Visit it. Check out all her offerings and have a session with her. We were so fortunate. I don't believe in luck, but this was fortune. This was that she came to tune us all today. Thank you so much. Les mandamos un beso a todos. Muchísimas gracias. Adiós.
We hope you enjoyed this new episode, and if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere where you prefer to listen to your podcast. Make sure to check the links to everything we mentioned in this episode. For more news, future or past episodes, or for any other inquiry, please visit our website at delafloorteachings.com. Once again, thank you for listening to the Spirituality Now podcast.